Okay, we're going to do some order of operations with decimals involved and radicals as well. So parentheses, exponent, radicals are treated like an exponent. Okay, radicals, roots, I mean the same thing. Multiply, divide, add, subtract. Okay, one thing, you're going to be placing some parentheses somewhere. If you have a division bar with actual operations, that actually goes in a parentheses. Okay. So I essentially have two parentheses I'll need to figure out. 21.3 divided by 7.2 to the third. So I've got divided by and a power exponent. Well, the exponent we do first. So 7.2 to the third, because exponent comes before division. 373.25. Round to the nearest hundredth, then you can divide and your parentheses goes away. 0.06. In parentheses, we have an operation inside, so that's going to be 16.7 to the second power. Okay, after that's done, I evaluate the exponent, 16.7 to the second. Okay, 278.89. And then we add, okay, it's going to be 278.95. Okay. Wait a second, I did that wrong. That wasn't 16.7, it's 16.6. Okay. So it's 16.6 times 16.6, 275.56. And I add, and I get 275.62. Okay, miscalculated that in my head. Okay, next problem. 0.360 plus 0.112 times 125 divided by the square root of 25. Remember, that is a parentheses. Okay, so in the parentheses we have divided by and we have a root. Root comes before division. The square root of 25 is 5. Then I divide 125 by 5, it's 25. So 0.360 plus 0.112 times 25. Okay, multiply, well, you need to multiply here. 0.112 times 25 is 2.8. Oops, I'm struggling here. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay. So it's 0.112 times 5. Okay. 0.56. Then I add. .92. Okay. Okay, next problem. Gets a little bit dicier, okay? Okay, so remember, big ratio, we need to parenthesize that, okay? So parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, exponents and roots, add, subtract. Now we have a parentheses, we need to figure that out, okay? So 8.63 times 5.1 is going to be 44.01. Then I've simplified the bottom. Now the bottom, you would technically do the exponent first, and that's 42.25, and then subtract 0.59 from that, 41.66. Now I divide, so 44.01 divided by 41.66, 1.06, but remember it's under the square root. You can't forget the square root. So right now I'm just simplifying that big parentheses. Done. Okay, exponents, roots. Well, you got a root you got to figure out. So now I evaluate the square root. Second key next to the 7, 1.06, 1.03. So 23.67 minus 1.03 times 0.9. Okay, multiplying. Take 1.03 times 0.9, 0.93. And you subtract. Okay, next problem. Yes, that whole thing is in a parentheses, okay? Parentheses, exponents, radical, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Okay, so parentheses, obviously I got a big one, okay? I have a second power, a divided by, then I have a root, okay? So I need to do my roots and powers first before I divide, okay? So I take 81.67 times 81.67, okay? 6,669.99. Now I go inside the radical. I need to figure out what's inside of there. So 400.35 plus 312.47, 712.82. Now I need to figure out the square root, okay? So 712 point, the square root of 7112.82, 26.70. Now I can divide, okay? So 6669.99 divided by 26.70, 249.81. So that's the top. Now the bottom, you don't have nearly as big a mess on the bottom. You have in the parentheses, you don't have any exponents or roots. You have multiplication here. So 6.07 times 0.065, 0.39 there. And then 4.072 minus 0.39, 3.68. Now we're dividing, and then the parentheses goes away. So 249.81 from the top divided by 3.68. 67.88. And finally the parentheses has been simplified. It's a big one, okay? Okay, now we have a radical. We need to simplify that. So I go 3 second caret 409.57. 3 second caret, not 3 second x to the second. Okay, 7.43. Okay, then I subtract. 67.88 minus 7.43 is 60.45. Okay, that's the end of that. Okay, now next part, got some application pieces. Yearly depreciation equals the original cost minus the trade-in parentheses times the number of miles driven in a year divided by the number of miles of life expectancy. Original cost is $35,000, the trade-in's $10,000, miles driven a year 35,200, number of miles of life expectancy 275,000. So this is my formula I'm using. So the original cost is $35,000 minus the trade-in value $10,000 times the number of miles driven a year 35,200 divided by the number of miles of life expectancy. Okay, so parentheses, you got to simplify that first. That's 25,000, easy enough. Okay, 25,000 divided by 35,200 divided by 275,000. Parentheses did it. Exponents, roots, I don't have any. Multiply, divide. Well, yeah, that's all I have left. So if I have just multiply, divide left, I just go straight through. $30,200. Okay. That's your yearly depreciation. Would be a dollar sign. Okay, next up, this funky little formula here. Let's do it the Pythagorean theorem. You'll see that in the book. I have to find AB. Okay. Now, in the radical, we have AC, which is going to be 134.56. Since AC is one number, that's 134.56 to the second, plus BC. BC is 124.27 to the second. Okay. So parentheses, I don't really have any. Exponents, radicals. Well, yeah, I have an exponent within a radical. Okay. So I'm going to do the exponents first, since those are on the inside. 18,106.39 plus, now I have another exponent, 15,443.03. Okay. Then I add I get 33,547.42, and then finally I know what number is in the radical, so now I can evaluate my radical. So second square root 33,547.42. Okay, 183.16. So again, you obviously had exponents, you did those, then you had the radicals, so you had to add those products together, then find the square root. Okay, next problem. This formula here, C equals, capital D is 0.85 divided by 2, that's a parentheses, remember, minus 0.5 times a radical, 4 times parentheses, capital D is 0.85 divided by 2 to the second, minus 0.32 to the second. Okay, parentheses, we obviously have them. I'm dividing here. So 0.85 divided by 2 is 0.43 when you round, minus 0.5 times 4 times, and then I take my 0.85 divided by 2, 0.43 again, but it's to the second, minus 0.32 to the second. So parentheses are gone. Exponents and radicals, well, you got some exponents here and you got a big radical. Okay, so 0.43 times 0.43 is 0.18. 0.32 times 0.32 is 0.10. Now I have a radical. Inside the radical, obviously to evaluate the radical, we need to know what number's in the radical first. Okay, so I have times and minus. Times comes before minus, because when I go P-E-R-M-D-A-S, multiplication comes before subtraction. So first we're going to take 4 times 0.18, then I subtract 0.10, 0.62. So 0.62, now we need to find the root. That's the whole point of doing inside there, so I knew what number to find the root of. Square root of 0.62, 0.79. So 0.43 minus 0.5 times 0.79. Okay, multiply, divide. We have minus, and well, we have times right there. 0.40. And subtract them at 0.03. Okay, next problem. I need to give you some numbers here off the side. D is 11.4, H is 1.5, L is 2.6. Okay, so V equals 4 times H to the second, 1.5 to the second, divided by 3, times the square root, and in the square root we have D 11.4, divided by H 1.5, minus 0.608, and then outside the root, the times L's outside, so times 2.6. Okay, where would I have parentheses? Well, here and here. So this fraction, I need to find the top and the bottom. Well, I know what the bottom is. The top, I have the times and the exponent. The exponent comes first. 1.5 times 1.5, 2.25. Then I take 4 times 2.25, takes me to 9, and then 9 divided by 3 is 3. Parentheses is now gone. Times. Now within the radical you have another parentheses, you're just dividing, okay? 11.4 by 1.5, 7.6 minus 0.608, and then times 2.6 outside. Parentheses are gone. Now, no exponents, but you got a radical, okay? Well, first I need to find what number's in the radical. 7.6 minus 0.608. 6.992. So we found the number inside. Now I need to evaluate the radical. So I go second square root 6.992. Okay, 2.64 times 2.6. Okay, so the exponent's rooted, and it's all just multiplication from there. 3 times 2.64 times 2.6, okay, 20.59. Okay, next page. We've got this formula H equals K times A times TD over 60 times D. So K off to the side is 3,000, A is equals 8.6, TD equals 7.2, D equals 0.053. Okay, start plugging them in. K, 3,000, A, 8.6, TD, 7.2, 60 times D, 0.053. That's all one big parentheses on the fraction, so we need to evaluate the top and the bottom and then divide. Well, the top's easy, it's all multiplication, so it all goes together. Okay, 185,760. Bottom. 3.18. Then I divide, and that's my answer. So I take 185,760 divided by 3.18. It's going to be 58,415.09. Round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, then I got another one. A equals 60 times H times D, and then K times TD. So H equals 130,000, K equals 1,500, TD equals 34, and D 0.084. So we have 60 times H, it's going to be 130,000, times lowercase d, that's 0.084, K, 1500, times TD, 34. Okay, that's all one. So again, with a parentheses with a division line, you find the top. It's all multiplication, so easy enough. If it's all the same operation, you just get to do it forward. 65,520. Bottom. 51,000. Okay, then we divide. Okay, 1.28. You're going to see those formulas in the textbook. You just got to apply. Okay, now the next one. RT. Okay, and then I get these fractions within fractions. Okay, so I got 1. And then 1 divided by R1, 6.25, plus 1, R2, 2.3, plus 1. 1 over 0.5 plus 1 over 4.2 plus 1, 0.6. Remember, that's all one big fraction. Okay. Now, how am I going to evaluate this? Well, the top's 1. Now, the bottom, okay, you can't ABC it. You can't ABC a decimal, because if I try to ABC it, look what happens. I need to take 1 divided by 6.25, 0.16. Then 1 divided by 2.3, 0.43. Now I add those together, and that's 0.59. So 1 divided by 0.59 is 1.69. Plus, now we divide here, 1 divided by 0.5 is 2. 1 divided by 4.2 is 0.24. 1 divided by 0.6 is 1.67. Then I add those and I'll know what comes on the bottom. Okay, so 2 plus 0.24 plus 1.67, 3.91. So now I divide 1 by 3.91. 0.26, and then I add, and I'm pretty much there. $1.95. So again, that's a parentheses. If I have a big giant dividing line, that's a parentheses. Your job is to find what comes out of the top and what comes out of the bottom. Okay, last problem. A patient often needs to be weaned off a powerful drug like Here's one possible way to wean a patient off a drug over a 2-week period. Okay, so days 1 through 3, he takes that dosage 3 times a day. And as the days increase, he downs the dosage because this gets less and less every day. You also take it less frequently. What's total dosage for the first 3 days? Okay, so the dosage 0.02. You're taking it 3 times a day, but you're taking it for 3 days. It's all multiplication, 0.18 grams. Total dosage for day 1, well, day 1's easy, okay? 0.02 times 3. You can times it by 1, but what's the point? 0.06 G. Okay, decrease in dosage between day 1 and day 14, okay? Decrease is minus, so in day 1, okay? You're taking 0.02, but you're taking it 3 times a day, so 0.02 times 3. Day 14, you're taking that twice a day, so 0.000125 times 2. So I do the times first. You're going to get 0.06. Okay. Then 0.00025. And subtract them. 0.05, just round it, 0.06, okay? So it's almost half the amount that is, okay? What's the total dosage of, I think I punched it in, right? Yeah, I did. Okay, what's the total dosage of the 14-day period? Well, you're going to end up adding them. So 0.02 times 3 times 3 plus 0.01. That's 3 more days times 3. 4, 5, 6 is 3 days times 3 times 3. Plus 0.005 times 3 times 2. Or times 2 times 3, it doesn't really matter. Plus 0.0025 times 3 times 2. Plus 0.000125 times 3 times 2. Okay. So 0.02 times 3 times 3 is 0.18. So I need to find all the products before I add. 0.01 times 3 times 3 is 0.09 over those 3 days. 0.005 times 3 times 2, 0.03. 0.0025 times 3 times 2, 0.015. And then 0.000125 times 3 times 2, 0.00075. Then I add them all together. Okay, 0.32. Round your final answer. That many grams right there. All right.